Hey everyone, and welcome to What's in the Box. Today we'll be looking at a little track that Callum and I put together where we took elements from different styles like trap drums, synthwave textures, and pop production techniques on vocals and just kind of ran with it to where we ended up now. So the first thing we did was we wanted the basis for our track. So we got behind the Juno 60 and we recorded some chords. We came up with a little sequence and it sounded something like this. Well, it sounded exactly like this. So we've got this melody. And then we thought, well, what if that melody plays over something like this chord progression? So it's kind of a static melody, and then there's a moving chord progression underneath it. The effects you're hearing on there, okay, there's a little bit of reverb from Logic, but we also ran the Juno through the Korg Stage Echo. So we're getting a little bit of drive from the Stage Echo, a little bit of delay, and some of that tasty reverb. We're like, it's nice and subdued. We can really kind of get a thick beat underneath that and then open up for something for the chorus because often you want to kind of feel something bloom on the chorus. Not always. Every rule's meant to be broken. We kind of took those chords and we opened up the filter on the Juno, sort of like this. And then we ended up slicing them up. 3, 4. So we're actually not even playing them there in the order that we recorded them in. And then we just took those chords and we kind of resampled them. Now, we like using something like the Juno, something analog, because it's got that kind of out of tune sound. Like if you ran a tuner on here, I'll just do that very quickly. If you got a tuner running on here, I mean, it doesn't pick up every note, but basically there's quite a bit of drift on the intonation. It's very sort of human, where soft synths often don't do that, but they also often do. Some of the big emulations do kind of achieve this. Next step was to figure out a bit of a groove for that. We wanted to start simple, so we pulled in some of our sweet Lucci samples. Shout out to your boy Lucci.
Shout out!
Here we go.
Lucci, my boy!
Lucci, my boy! Okay, so just to dive a little bit deeper, kick sounds like this. Knock, knock, knock. And then we took this snap and then we duplicated that and pulled that sample down an octave. Next, we move on to a hi-hat pattern. So again, we pulled in some Lucci samples here, but this time we pulled them into a sampler. This is Logic's EXS24 sampler. Just briefly, what we've done here is we've got one sample, which is our primary sample, hi-hat 11. And we've done certain things like pan it over here and reverse it over here. You can see over there, we've reversed it. Then we've got another sound, 13. So this is what they sound like. So this is 13. Love it. And then this is 11. Just kind of pitched, panned, reversed. And this was done with very little foresight. You just kind of pull it in, pan, bit of pitch, and this is what that sounds like. And much like what we've done on the Juno, we are side-chaining most of the stuff in the project off one of two channels. We've created these ghost kick channels here that have no output, but they just serve to cue the compressor to duck. Just to add a little bit of feel to the hi-hats, we're doing a little bit of 3 compressors. I'm not even going to open those. Moving on. Again, chorus. We wanted something to bloom up, so we added a shaker. And we added a bit of a chorus to it. Adding chorus widens a sound. So if I ever want to just go like, the sound is sounding super dead center, super mono, just want to add a little bit of that to the sound, I'll add a chorus. There's a bunch of things you can do, but it's like mega wide. It's in the name. I mean, it does soften the sound as well. It's not going to cut through as hard, but it works. So compared to, which is also great, but I wanted something wider. Nice. Let's talk about the toms. I'm a big fan of future-based toms, so what we did was we put together our own sort of tom fill here. This is kind of that over-processed, cut-off gated sound. Just to kind of dive into what we did there was we took the drum kit designer, standard in Logic, took each tom, and played with the tuning of the tom. We would just pitch the toms, print the audio of each one, add in some compression, gated reverb, some distortion, and then reprint it like that. So that's the basis of our song. Speaking of basses, let's jump to the bass. So we wanted to kind of stay within a Logic stock sound here. So we loaded up the retro synth, put it onto sync. For me, 808 basses, it's got to have some tone to it. It's rolled off quite a lot, but this is what we ended up with. In many instances, it's a good idea to side chain the bass off of the kick drum, and you find that you actually open up your bottom end register. So the kick hits, bam, it's got fires away its bottom end, then it ducks the bass, and the bass comes back up again, and it's got its own space. So. Okay, next we wanted some melodic element in there. We weren't quite sure whether we were going to go with vocals or not, so we got a young Callum, and he pulled out the guitar and played this, which we then pitch shifted. Now, obviously, he could have played it an octave up, an octave down, but again, we wanted to go with something a little bit more processed, so we just did the pitch shifting within Logic. Next on the list, we're feeling like the chords were lacking a little bit of girth. Our box was lacking some girth. So we added a huge saw. That's what we called it. So it must be, although you can see here on the region, it's called Big Saw. So at some stage, it metamorphosized into a huge saw. So now we've brought in our Serum plugin. So obviously this is a basic kind of super saw sound. We've just got two patches here. One of them is an octave down from the other. This is your basic shapes in the saw position, and this is just another saw shape. Unison to 4, unison to 6, detune dialed down because Serum's standard detune position is like really quite spicy. A little bit of motion. What have we got here? Envelope 2, adding a little bit of like a ducking effect to the volume and to the cutoff, and it sounds like this. But a hyperdimension, distortion, and compression in the multiband mode. So now we're just kind of thickening up this progression here. Here's without. So again, it sounds great. Don't knock the Juno. We love the Juno. But still, more. We wanted more. So now we have it. We also added something just to add a little bit more of a digital vibe. We created that kind of telephone synth sound. Very easy to make. Hello? It's just a square LFO in Serum over here, square LFO and LFO1, and send that to pitch octaves over here on each oscillator. And then in your matrix, you just kind of dial that down. So now we have something that sounds like this. Noise is always important. So we've got sort of basic crashes, which we outputted from Drum Designer in Logic. Sidechained, naturally, and then reversed. And then we dived onto the MS-10, which is just such a great synth, the Korg MS-10 for noise. That's all we used it for on this track, is just noise. So good. It's taking off. Oh, lovely. Love those fades, or lack of fades. Now moving on to the nub, nay, the crux, nay, the epicenter, the vocals. We decided to go with me on vocals, but I'm not very good, so we decided to just overproduce the shit out of it. This is the thing that we recorded here. We spent about 2 seconds thinking up words. I can't take you. So, letting you into the wardrobe while I'm getting dressed here. Let's have the humiliating look under my rods. I can't take you away. Yeah, it's not bad. Don't wanna let you go. Don't wanna let you go. So that is the source material. It was literally just a take. Fine, cool. We're going to edit it. We're going to do crazy stuff to it. We added these tracks here for the vocals. Okay, so there are different pitch positions of this plugin Vocal Transformer. So usually I use Soundtoy's Little Altar Boy, but we wanted to use something again stock that came with Logic. And this actually does a really good job. It doesn't automate super good, but if we kind of have the channels in these octave positions, it works fairly well. So we've got this channel in +12 octave, -12 formant. This channel is standard octave as it was recorded, -12 on the formant, standard, no formant shift, -12 in the pitch octave, and then -12 in the formant as well. So this allowed us to sort of just take the vocals and move them around onto different tracks and see how that felt. Then we could just play with effects, reverbs, etc. I can't take you away. I wanna let you go. I wanna let you go. I can't take you. It's a wild ride. So we wanted to achieve a lazy feel with the vocals and then just sort of throw it around onto these pitch tracks, and then after that just kind of mess it up a little bit. So after one cycle of the vocal, we had to figure out a way to make it interesting, and that ended up being us cutting up the vocals. So let's just give it a little look what we did over here. So it just gives a little bit more interest over the vocals there. Something tasty that we really like is kind of like everything builds up and then vocal drop. Let's have a look at what we did here. We made them really lazy here. We made the vocals super lazy. Okay, and last but not least is the sort of the spice, the icing on the top of the vocal production, and that, if you've been listening, is the automation on the effects. We've got these sidechain reverbs here. So one of them is Space Designer, compressor, something to spread it, sidechain compressor, EQ. Amazing. The compressor is to sidechain off the Ghost Kick, just to give this effect. So that creates a really cool effect, but to add a little bit more spice, we created a second aux, added another instance of this vocal transformer, and then set it to a fixed pitch. When the vocal's cued at that point, it would just kind of be a little bit tonal, almost synthy. And as you can see, there's some serious automation going on these auxes. So that's helped us achieve kind of a little bit more of an outrageous vocal sound in this production, where we didn't have strong vocals to start. We had to make the production more of a feature than the vocals themselves. The vocals were incidental. Was that self-denigrating enough? And that about wraps up this video. If you guys would like us to spend a bit more time on specific components of the production process, then leave a comment, let us know what you'd like more of or less of in the next video. Thanks so much for watching, and see you next time. That guy.